I like to go to the schools and speak to the kids, and one thing I always tell them is you don't have to be elected to be a leader and make a difference. You can make a difference for your friends, your family, and your school. I think listening is a major key. You got to be able to listen to people and take that constructive criticism yourself as well. So, of course, as a leader, you're supposed to help direct people in which way they should go. But at the end of the day, you also need to be able to take in that feedback so you know that you're still going in the right direction because complacency is a thing. Some people can get in a position for many, many years and lose focus on what the position was originally supposed to be about.
That's Paducah City Commissioner Dujuan Thomas. On this week's Leadership Magnified, I sit down with the city's youngest commissioner ever to be elected. We talk passion, leadership, what he's learned from mentors, and his advice for other leaders. Here's my conversation. So, before we jump into the questions specifically about leadership, let's talk a little bit about your passion for the city. It took a couple of false starts, campaigns before you were elected into office. I'm just curious, what was the passion that you had for the city that just made you keep trying and trying and trying?
Definitely. I think just growing up here, I was born and raised in Paducah, raised by my grandmother, my grandparents, my parents have been in my life, aunts, uncles, cousins, so on and so forth. A real village. And being raised in the church as well really helped, I guess, build that serving heart inside of me, wanting to serve others. I used to help the elders and different things like that. And then as I progressed, I enlisted in the Army National Guard at 17. So I was still in high school, went and did basic training, came back, finished my senior year, served there honorably. And then just what brought me back to Paducah and what made me ran for mayor the first time was COVID. COVID shut the world down. I was here on spring break and I saw there was a mayor election. I'm like, we're not talking about our roads. We're not talking about our sidewalks or our south side. So I said, I'm gonna run. And I didn't even know the first thing about running. I went to City Hall to try to fill my paperwork out and didn't realize there was a deadline. I didn't realize a lot of stuff, but really just hearing the people. That's one thing that I've led with is being a voice for the community. And I've taken on the mantra or the motto of the people's commissioner because I really do put people first and I put people over politics.
And what I hear in that answer is there was a learning curve. We're going to come back to that in a minute, but let's dive in. What as in your role as city commissioner, what is a project or initiative you just really think is taken off and succeeding right now?
Oh man. Well, honestly, our team, we have a fantastic team in City Hall, especially our staff as well. Like getting into office, I learned that our staff do, we give them the ideas and they hit the ground running. Like our Bill Grant downtown, the sports park that's coming, even though I wasn't involved in the vote that brought those, I'm really hopeful that these are going to turn out to be amazing for our city. And then just so much, with our priority setting session last year, we made homelessness a priority and we've given those funds to the services in our community. And I'm just super grateful for that because, I've learned even before getting in office, but, homelessness isn't just always the person on the side of the road with a sign. It could be that kid that's couch surfing because they have an unstable home. So I'm glad that we've been able to allocate those funds for that. And even the South Side revitalization plan, that's one of the biggest ones that we have going on. And we finally voted on that and it's going into phase one now where people can get up to $30,000 in renovation grants, 30% of the cost and all that that goes along with it. And then also the first time home buyers with the gap or the gap funding when it comes to buying a new home that's going to be built on our south side. So there's just a lot. My mind is racing because there's so much that we've been doing this past year.
What is a project or initiative that just doesn't seem to catch fire or is moving slower than you or the other commissioners would like?
One that comes to mind, I always ran on our sewers and our stormwater issue. And before getting in office, I didn't understand why we didn't see much motion. But now that I've been in, I've been able to sit down with our engineer, and he gave me a high level rundown on the entire project because it's not something that can be done in just 1 year. Because if that was the case, we would have to shut down the entire city, and you couldn't drive anywhere because the roads would be tore up. But the plan is several years in advance, and we're doing it segment by segment and there's a lot of progress coming with that. Like right now, we funded, I can't recall the street name, but we have like a water reservoir, something along those lines being constructed. And, it's just piece by piece, but I know we're going to get it done over the years.
Describe something that you do behind the scenes and as a leader. Kind of how's the sausage made?
That's kind of hard because everything I do, I post on social media for the most part. And WPSD, y'all been great, airing a lot of the stuff I do in the community. But behind the scenes, I guess you don't see me setting up the camera because I put out my recaps. I do that every month, and they've been taking off. A lot of people appreciate that. I like to recap our commission meetings and hitting really the highlights that people would really care about because we cover a lot of stuff that at the end of the day, it's kind of boring for an average viewer that doesn't want to sit through an hour-long meeting or whatnot. So some of the things behind the scenes and just answering the phone. I pick up the phone any time of day or night. People call me. Even the first month when I got in office, I was getting phone calls every single day, it seemed like. It's kinda slowed down now, but, those phone calls where people oftentimes, even if it's not a solution that I can immediately solve, it's just having someone that they can talk to, and that makes a major difference for people, so I guess that's some of the things that people probably don't see behind the scenes.
Can you name someone, or maybe there are multiple people who you looked up to as a leader who have influenced you?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. Well, my great grandfather, James Henry Thomas, he was the first black city councilman in Clinton, Kentucky. He's passed away a few years ago, but I didn't actually know that he ever had that position until after he passed, and I was upset because I'm like, I could have talked to him. I could have got some wisdom from him on, his job as a councilman. Even though councilman or commissioner are different, I like to highlight that for people because as commissioners, we're equal to the mayor in forms of decision making, but councilmen are under a mayor. Just wanted to throw that out there, but he's a big inspiration just knowing that history, and then his daughter went on to become the first black city councilwoman in Clinton, Kentucky. So I have a little bit of a family history, and then my cousin Regina Thomas, she was the Secretary of State of New Jersey, in the early 2000s. So those are a couple people, that have inspired me and let me realize that this is kind of a Thomas legacy to be in politics. So yeah, just those, and then I guess I could throw out, family members like my aunt Virginia McClure. She takes credit for always putting me in front of the TV in the morning to watch the news, and as politics is on the news and different things. So that has played a part too in getting me more, I guess, activated and being involved in the community. And of course, my grandmother, she was one of my first backers whenever I wanted to run for mayor. She did tell me they're going to chew you up and spit you out, but I still went forward, and here we are. But yeah, just man, honestly, family, friends, my wife, of course, Christina, she's been a backbone throughout this. And I know we were talking about inspirations, but just having that support is an inspiration because having people that you can look to help you and to support you really makes a
It
difference.
sounds like you've got it in the DNA. What do you think the a challenge that faces leaders today?
Wow, a challenge that faces leaders. I think, one thing that I wanted to really do is help bridge the gap between local government and the community because oftentimes I feel like it's not your elected officials aren't doing their job. I just don't think the message makes it to the people most of the time. So that's one thing I've been pushing on is really just getting that word out. And I've been doing it myself, of course, but our city's been doing a lot of work getting mail out, like getting stuff to people's doors so they can know, like our tree voucher program, the stuff that benefits the community, stuff for the community, and like our financial literacy courses that the planning department has been putting on, like on our south side. So, really just connecting with the community. That's the biggest gap I think that a lot of elected officials have. And of course, when you go to bigger office, there's a much bigger gap because you're only one person and you may have hundreds of thousands of constituents. So how could you, get to each one of them? And that's why they have field offices, yada yada. But I think that is the biggest thing is just bridging that gap between community and government.
I want to return to something you kind of mentioned earlier. What was a learning curve or two for you when past election day, that first, oh my gosh, here I am at the commission table?
Yeah,
What have been the learning curves for you?
there was a lot. They say, open it or drink it from the fire hose, how they put it, because they had a whole orientation for me so I could get better understanding of how our local government operates. But really, a lot of misconceptions. Like I said, with the stormwater thing, I'm thinking, oh, the city's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. In reality, we have a plan. A lot of the things and the decisions that we make as a government aren't just for tomorrow, they're for maybe 10 years down the road. So, like, hotels is one of them. A lot of people, and I was one of those people, they're like, why is the city building these hotels? The city doesn't build the hotels. It's private investment. And at the end of the day, if we're like building the sports park, people are going to need somewhere to sleep. If we don't have the hotels, why would they come here if they can't sleep anywhere? So it's a lot of future planning. So that was one big learning curve is understanding that. And I guess kind of the team dynamic of how the staff operates. We're a city manager, former government, so he does the day-to-day operations, and we know we meet with him individually throughout the week, and get a rundown, tell him what we need done. But yeah, honestly, I think it was just that misconception part of not really understanding how local government operates.
And you mentioned team. As a aside from being a journalist, as a citizen, Paducah, McCracken County, I look at the commission as a team, all of the commissioners and the mayor. What's that dynamic been in terms of a learning curve and how you communicate and build those relationships with your fellow commissioners?
For sure. And I think one thing that's good about our commission is it's very diverse. I bring in a different perspective than maybe Sandra brings in or Buzz brings in or so on. Honestly, they opened up their arms to me and allowed me to come in and bring that new perspective. But honestly, the communication is a major part of what we do. We have interactions at events and we meet and things, but as a commission, there's a lot of legalities behind that. There can't be three or more of us meeting and talking about city business and making decisions without it being an open meeting. So we can't do that. We can't go get lunch and talk about, hey, we're going to do this. But it's building that friendship too. Being able to know that you can trust and have that friendship with your fellow commissioner and the mayor.
Mhm. And that takes time to build those
Oh
relationships
yeah, of
with them.
course.
So, advice would you give to someone going into a leadership position for the first time?
Oh man, one thing because I like to go to the schools and speak to the kids, and one thing I always tell them is you don't have to be elected to be a leader and make a difference. You can make a difference for your friends, your family, and your school. And really, anybody going into a leadership position, I think listening is a major key. You got to be able to listen to people and take that constructive criticism yourself as well. So, of course, as a leader, you're supposed to help direct people in which way they should go. But at the end of the day, you also need to be able to take in that feedback so you know that you're still going in the right direction because complacency is a thing. Some people can get in a position for many, many years and lose focus on what that position was originally supposed to be about. So really just being open and, being someone that somebody can not be friend, because of course you want to be a leader. You don't want to be seen as friends, but you should be likable. Growing up, I had a lot of supervisor positions, and I learned what kind of manager I didn't want to be because there's some managers out there that are just mean. They treat people bad because they're in that position, like they get high and mighty. So don't be one of those people, I guess I should say.
You touched on it briefly, technology. How does technology play a role in your leadership and in how you go about your day-to-day schedule as commissioner?
For sure. Social media is a big part of my life because, I grew up in that social media age. I'm only 27, so I got my first phone in middle school and got on social media in high school with Snapchat, Facebook, everything like that. And I've just found a way to incorporate that into my role as a commissioner because everybody's on Facebook, everybody's on Instagram or YouTube. So I thought, how can I connect with the community by using social media? And that's by doing my recap. So after every commission meeting, I'll just film a quick video. Either my wife will film it or I'll set my tripod up and I'll just do the rundown and then post it. It's really that simple. And then my monthly recaps where I encapsulate everything I've done that month. And of course, our commission meetings, going to City Hall, setting up the camera, filming it, and getting it out there. And then outside of that, just it's a fast way of connecting with people. So if we know we got something going on in the city, we're not in a day and age where we got to depend on word or mouth or, mail all the time. We could post a picture or post a flyer on Facebook, let the community know like the financial literacy courses and different things that are going on. So in our day and age, I think social media that's the major way to connect with our constituents.
Okay, this has been a really good
Yeah,
conversation. I want to end how we end these episodes, and that is draw the curtain back on a little bit more about your personality with three fun questions. So the first is, how do you unwind? How do you relax?
oh my gosh. Every time I get home, I'm laying on my couch watching TV or YouTube and scrolling on my phone. That's what, and my dog is there. He'll want to come get pets and all things like that. But either going to the gym or laying on the couch or, laying on the couch. Wait, going to the gym, then laying on the couch. Either way.
Okay, second question, what are you watching or streaming?
There is a show, The Paper. I love The Office growing up. Yeah. So I've been watching that. Oh man, and I watch a lot of YouTube, so a lot of gaming videos, different things. So nothing specific, but yeah, The Paper's one, and Fallout.
Fallout is a weird show, but I love it.
And I'm a gamer, so I grew up playing Fallout. So it's kind of cool seeing what you played on the game actually theatrical. So
Well, and I'm one of those fans. I didn't know it was a game. Last question. Is there an actor or actress, doesn't matter what movie they're in, you're going to go watch it because of them? You love them so much.
oh man, I love Will Smith movies. Will Smith movies and Tyler Perry movies. Medea, of course. I grew up watching them. But yeah, I think Will Smith. Will Smith's a great actor, and that's someone I gotta meet. I gotta interview. I gotta talk to him someday. But yeah, Will Smith movies like Bad Boys, and then even going back to Pursuit of Happiness. That's one of my all-time favorite movies. Like it touches the heart. So I really like that movie.
Yeah, that's a great film. All right, Commissioner Dujuan Thomas, thanks for being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Next week on Leadership Magnified, I sit down with Paducah City Commissioner Ronaldo Henderson. Hope you can join me. Stay safe, friends.